Okay. Yeah, so let me share my screen. Let me hope everybody is able to see my screen. Can you just confirm, please, once? Isabella, can you confirm me, please? You're able to hear me clearly?
Sorry, yes, we can see your screen, we can hear you clearly.
Oh,
And
perfect, perfect. Okay. So hi everyone. So we are going to talk about the basically going to talk about the API governance. And in API governance, our focus will be there on the custom rule sets where we can satisfy our business requirement if it is not satisfied with the out of the box rule sets. Okay. So a little bit about me. So who am I? So I work for a company called Apicero. Now it's a part of Entity Data. I'm a MuleSoft Ambassador. I have around 12 plus years of experience in industry, and predominantly in integration side. I am working, more than a 6 plus years now. I'm a certified MCD level 2 hyper automation, all the certifications almost. I'm a delivery champion, leading Coimbatore Mule Meetup, and love to speak in the MuleSoft meetups. Okay. The agenda of our session today, yeah, as I mentioned, API governance is a part of universal API management. These are the new features which are launched on any point platform to cover or to satisfy the client's requirement from any architecture, any domain, right? So there we are going to talk about the API governance. One piece from that universal API management. In that API governance, we are going to talk about the custom rule sets. We are going to create, we are going to publish, we are going to validate, we are going to apply those rules as part of demo. Okay. So let me talk about the API management capabilities on our Anypoint platform. So we are going to talk about the capabilities as part of universal API management. So on universal API management, we are, before talking about capabilities, we need to talk or we need to look at the trends in API management capabilities. Okay. So enterprises needs, business today are evolving as is their, the uses of API. So these are the trends we have. You can see left hand side of my screen where, let me just pick. So sprawls of APIs across the enterprises. So with the transition to the cloud technologies and the adoption of microservices, enterprises saw an exponential increase in the adoption of APIs across heterogeneous environment, diverse platform, and different architectures. So with this sprawls of APIs, we are getting other challenges. So if you look at the challenges, major challenges could be your API discovery. That becomes a challenging with the different platforms or different tools being adopted by siloed teams and the environments. With API operating across different environments, each one is architected in different standard for quality, creating nightmares, that actually creating nightmares for the IT organizations to manage different versions of the APIs. The 75% of, if you look at the trend, right, 75% of security attacks are coming via, or directed towards the API endpoints. Second, second trend is evolving functions of APIs. So for almost 20 years, if you little go back, almost 20 years, REST API is your standard on the web. Okay. So all the paradigms are shifting slowly. The standards are expanding beyond REST. Developers are adopting, types of different types of APIs. Like according to the recent study, 13% of the developers are using asynchronous API to to real-time applications. 24% of developers are using GraphQL to optimize the way the data is served to the applications. Third trend, we are seeing that expanding API ecosystem. So developers are generally, being the biggest users, and we can say that adapters of the APIs. But now their use is spreading more widely across the enterprises. APIs are now drive the value for generating new partnerships, creating new business models and products opportunities, and enabling the integrations without the bottleneck of IT. In the last decades, roles such as API product manager, the future teams are also emerging. The roles focus on the drive business values, out of APIs, and then the engaging their internal external API ecosystem to generate new revenue opportunities and partnership and values. Fourth trend, we are seeing that consumer demands have shifted now. Okay, so today consumers value instant gratification and convenience. The connectivity brought on by the widespread use of APIs that shifted the consumer experience. Let's use example of calling and your Amazon Alexa device. Okay, so APIs power that connected experience between your rideshare app, Alexa device, and the bank account. So, for example, when you say, right, hey Alexa, pay my electricity bills, right? So that experience, if you see, that is how the consumer is looking for, experience from a Unified platform. So, is there a solution for satisfying these trends? Yes, we have universal API management with these features. We have API catalog CLI to publish your assets. Write in work with API of any origin, work in any architecture, work in any environment, any audience. So this catalog CLI, Flex Gateway, API governance, the community manager, the new features called Experience Hub, Anypoint Data Graph. There are a lot of changes happens on Design Center. There are a lot of changes happens on API Manager to satisfy these trends and the challenges. Okay. So working, yeah, I'll come to that next slide, but working with APIs of any origin. So here I wanted to mention that now enterprises are expanding their RESTful technology stack with newer protocols like synchronous API, GraphQL. So with universal API management, organizations can work with any API regardless of where it is created or which protocol it is using. Okay. So if I say work in any architectures, that means that organizations works with wide range of architectures from monolithic applications to the microservices. So how universal API is helping us here? So it enables organizations to work with any architecture pattern by securing all of its services, no matter the size. Okay, work with any environments. So with universal API management, APIs along with their governance, observability, the discoverability capabilities can operate independently from the platforms, hybrid, cloud, hosting, on your own environments. Engaging any audience. So API management. So universal API management gives the central repository for all the organizations APIs, allowing internal, external audiences across diverse roles to engage and get value from the Anypoint platform. Okay, so universal API management basically the solution for work with APIs of any origin, works in any architecture from any environments, or engage any audience. So from this solution, we are taking the governance. That is what our focus today. So we are going to talk about the API governance. So one statement I want to make it here: when you have best practices, if you enforce those best practices, it becomes a governance. Okay, so that's where we are going to see what all areas will be covered by the API governance. So let's take the example of our use case. So let's say I want to design a API. We are going to use a Mule API, because in previous slide I mentioned that you can take any technology, any environment, but here we talk about the MuleSoft. So one of the example. So let's say I have given that requirement to design a user API to get the data from a database. So three designers are, I have given that requirement to three different designers. So if I don't have any best practices or standards enforcement on, while writing the specification, what will happen basically? So they will come up with almost three different copies, because our design is so creative that They will try to apply their experience in writing that specification. So somebody will write, somebody will write a different title, somebody will use a different format in the versioning, somebody will use HTTP, somebody will say HTTPS, somebody will give different resource name here, naming standards, somebody will use kebab case, somebody will use snake pattern. So if I want to enforce, for example, if I want to control this part, okay, so let's say I want to enforce that, okay, my base URI should use always HTTPS. So for this requirement, I have out of the box rule set. I can use out of the box rule set from API governance list and apply that. So that will control or validate my API against that rule set. But if my requirements, for example, my business is asking me to, in title, it should have, okay, what type of this API basically, what layer. So there should be a proper naming standards. For example, for system API, it should end with sys-API. If it is experience API, it should end with exp-API. Or my requirement is, let's say, version, I want to enforce nobody should use this v1 or v1.0.0. Always they should use this semantic versioning, that is major, minor, and the patch 1.0.0 and above. Okay, to enforce that every field, every request, every response should have example. Then I have out of the box rule sets which I can use to enforce that standard. So there are out of the rule sets around 9 rule sets we have, 8 to 9 rule sets we have out of the box. But if you have requirement something like this, we can go ahead and implement our own rule set. Okay. So in API governance, we can create our own rule set. We can take the existing rule set, modify it. So that means you can clone it, add your functionality, and publish it again. So for that, we have utilities available. We can use any point CLI version 4. We have rule set development CLI command line tools. We can use this. Okay. So what basically this custom rule sets work? So behind the scene, this API governance uses the framework called AMF, and there is a modeling language called AML. Okay. So that this API governance takes our specification and it applies the rules which we have written, either a custom rule set or the existing one. And from that API specification, it generates the AMF model and then it validates. So basically, from our specific metadata, okay, and by using that metadata, it generates the validation report. Okay, so that's how this custom AMF custom validated works. So it takes the specification, it takes the rule set from the specification, it takes the it parses it and it gets the metadata, and that metadata and this rule sets will generate does the validation and it generates the report. Okay. So to write our custom rule sets, we have, as I mentioned, there are utilities available. So we are going to use Anypoint CLI version 4, and we are going to modify existing rule sets. Okay, so I'll show you the quick demo on that. So we have commands where you can clone. So if you have downloaded already a rule set .yaml file, you can generate your own rule set from there, or you can directly clone it from your Anypoint platform. For example, we have out of the box rule sets called Anypoint best practices. So you can take that rule set, clone it, and then add your functionality to that rule set. Or explore it, how it is implemented, and then for your business requirement, you can implement your own rule set. Okay. Once your rules specific.
I'm able to hear you now.
Okay.
I wasn't
Okay.
before.
Yeah, there was a. So hope you're able to see my screen, right? Yeah, sorry for
Yes,
that.
we
Can still
can
see
hear
the screen? Yeah. You might just have to go back to the beginning of the slide.
you. Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, just a second. Sorry. Let me know on which side you are able to see. Yeah, please.
Yep, can see
You're able to
to
see
the
the
validating and publishing custom
awesome,
rule
awesome.
sets.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So once you implemented your rule set, so
It's
we
dropped
have
off now,
some
Ashish.
steps to You're
Your
not able to
slides
hear
have dropped
me.
away. I can hear you. I just can't see
Just
your
a second.
presentation. Yep,
Just
no
a
worries.
second. Okay. Just a second. Are you able to see now?
You
Yep.
are sharing. All right, I'll give you a second.
Yeah.
Yep, it's come back up.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Sorry,
Continue.
my bad. Okay. Okay. So we have steps to publish that the rule set. So we can go ahead and validate first whether whatever you have written, whether that is aligned or compliance with the standards. Then you can document it. Okay. And then we have option to publish it. Okay. So these three steps you can apply once uh, you have done with your implementation. Okay, so let me jump onto the demo. So I'll log into my anypoint platform. So first of all, I'll show you the existing one. You can go ahead here to the anypoint platform exchange, and in the exchange you can look at the provided by MuleSoft. You can select the category here, rules and category, apply. So these are the rule sets available on the anypoint platform. You can take any rule sets for your you can explore it. So for example, required example, right? So you can go ahead. Okay, once you download it, you'll see rules files over there, and you can look at that rules file. So for example, let me quickly take the existing. So for this one, okay, so I downloaded it. You can open it, and how it is implemented, you can go ahead and look at the code of that raml file. So to have the custom rule set, we simply need rulesets.yaml file. Okay, and that has to be implemented in this segment. Let me show you the for my requirement what I have implemented. So if I go to my okay, so let me tell you. So yeah, so my requirement was to put the standards on version and standards on title, and one standard I wanted to apply on the resource name. Explain that. So what I say, like, my title or my version should be there in the specific format. So for example, it should be there in this format. Okay, it should be in semantic format. It should not be in this format. Okay, so I have given the example. Valid is this one, invalid is this one. Okay, and that by using pattern. Okay, so if you look at the existing rule set, take that as a reference and use it for your implementation. Okay, so here we need to go really look at the AMF framework, how it is implemented, and then get the target class, the field name from there. Okay, so I'll take you that. For that, we have GitHub available. So once you publish it, you'll be able to see this rule sets available on your custom rule set. So first rule I have written is for the version. Second rule set I have written it for my title. So if you look at here, my name, core.name, and the target class for this is API contract web API. From there, we are looking at the field called name, and on that name, we are saying it is compulsory, that is minimum count should one, and pattern. Your title can have or end with exp API, and all conditions are or conditions here. Okay, so
Hi, Ashish.
quickly, yeah,
I might
this way
interrupt
you,
just here
yeah,
quickly. I'm definitely enjoying the presentation, but we are on time. Is there anything
yeah,
else
sure,
that the
sure, sure.
users that the viewers can take away from this in the last minute?
Yeah. So we can go for the Q&A. But quickly, I wanted to show you how it is, looking at, when you go to the, once you publish it. Okay, so if you look at rule sets here, once you publish it, you'll be able to see that your rule set has the violations listed down here. And if you wanted to see the documentation about it, you can have it and go to designer. You can add the rule set here, and then if you are violating anything, it will show you the conformance violation under your project errors. Yeah. If you have any questions, yeah, keep that. Uh, yeah, Brian, go ahead if there are any questions.
Yep, that's all good. So there was a message a little bit earlier from Isabella. If you want to jump onto the next session, you're welcome to. The recording will be available for this presentation, as well as any of the questions that follow on. If anyone does want to stay and ask any more questions, you're welcome to. We certainly definitely appreciate the presentation, Ashish, and I'm sure people will have some questions. We did have one question before, which is asking what does AMF stand for, which I think you mentioned before is the AML modeling framework that's used to parse RAML and things like OAS as well. The other question that didn't quite pop up in the question section, but did pop up in the general chat, was asking if we could apply rules to the resources themselves. So the resource naming.
Yeah. So resource naming, I mentioned, right? So for example, for the naming standard, it should be a camel case, right? Yes, we can. And I have added that rule in my, if you look at my rule set, right? So this one. So if you wanted to have some rules on your resources, so you need to use a target class. Hope you're able to see my screen. So API contract or endpoint, and you can apply the pattern on that. So one rule I applied is it should be a camel case.
Yep.
Okay, so you can, yes,
Okay,
you can apply the rules on resource also. Any more questions?
Yeah. Haven't seen any other questions that's popped up.
Okay.
So
So
Q&A again.
Rahul, yeah, there is a question, Brian. If I wanted to quickly take it, rule sets, yes, in the designer you can dependency. Let me quickly, yeah. So in the dependency you can go to the rule sets here, and under rule sets you can go to your exchange, and for example from here you can apply it. This is one way. Second way is you can create the API governance profile. There you can have centralized profile where you can, so this is design time. Once you implemented your API, you can go to the API governance profile. Here we have option to go for API governance. API governance. Here you can create your own profile and add those rule sets over there, out of the box as well as the custom one. Okay, you can create a profile over here, API governance.
Yeah. I don't think the question was asked, but I think you can also check which APIs don't have that particular rule applied to them as well, can't you? So you can find any that might be missing and you can add that rule onto them as well.
Yeah, and you can have your criteria. Like let's say there are business specific APIs, right? So you can filter the APIs based on the tags. If you have added tags, you can filter the APIs on the tag API, asynchronous API supported on our platform. So you can have multiple profiles based on your business requirement, and then you can filter those APIs based on your criteria, and you can apply the rule sets either out of the box rule sets or custom rule sets.
Okay, great.
If there are no more questions, yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks all for watching. Thanks for the great presentation, Ashish. I've certainly learned quite a bit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.
Yep.